Welcome to the Embrace the Face podcast, where we celebrate all things weird and wonderful. I'm Allie Anderson, your host, here to bring you high vibe content and interviews for your highest good in self-healing and ascension. May these episodes bring you all you need in each now, and I thank you for listening, as always. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to another episode of Embrace the Face. Today, we're going to discuss what it means to shed those final layers for the year of the snake and step into the energy of the fire horse. We're going to talk about how you can recognize signs and symptoms, of feeling those winter blues, and how you can then tap into feeling better, feeling yourself, feeling in flow throughout the winter season if you are in those colder and darker and dimmer areas of the world. So welcome. I'm so excited to have you guys here. So if you have not, yesterday I meant to record so that I could put it on my podcast as well as my YouTube. I went live on Instagram to introduce my sacred box. So as much as I would love to share all of that with you today, I want to really get into the nitty gritty of healing and ascension. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, please do. Instagram is kind of my main hub. I also utilize TikTok and Facebook, but Instagram is where I typically go live. So you can follow me there. You can watch yesterday's live on the Sacred Box, and I talk all about each and every product, the meaning behind it, the spiritual meaning, the healing meaning, and what this monthly offering can really do for you for your highest good, self-healing, and ascension. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here every single week. I am loving this, and I am truly, honestly, I'm loving the feedback that I'm getting. I love the comments. I love the questions. I love the text messages, the emails, the just words of encouragement in person. And it's really keeping me going because, as I shared last week, and I probably shared like multiple times before, but I am not monetized on here. So every review, every follow, every comment helps. And yeah, I'm just here. I mean, I'm always going to show up anyway, obviously, because this is where I'm at in my life right now, in my flow. So I want to bring you the high vibe content and interviews. So today I'm just solo though, so you'll have to deal with me. I'm sorry. I also did just bottle a new batch of fire cider. So I have already been selling. So if you want to get yours ordered, please do let me know. You can order via Etsy. You can order on my new website, embrace-the-face.com. You can DM me on social media. I can do simple, just like Venmo, Zelle, whatever you want to do, or you can order properly. So let me know. And don't forget my 2026 astrological planner and journal, which now we are going to get into the astrology and the behind the scenes. Now, what does it mean that Neptune is now in Aries? So Neptune has a 14-year cycle where it travels through the different planetary system, the different zodiacs, and it spent the last 14 years in Pisces. Pisces is all about spirituality, and Pisces is also all about emotion. So I had this epiphany recently, and I shared that I will be sharing this in a reel later today about how I had this full circle moment, and I really wanted to gear this episode on not only being a little more interactive with you guys, even though this isn't live. So if you'd like to share in the comments, and I'd be happy to get back to you. So what has your life looked like for the last 14 years? And I had this full circle spiritual moment that I want to share with you guys for a minute, because I feel this like deep calling that it's meant to be heard by somebody, whether it's a mom, whether it's a spouse. So I want to share a little bit about my history in case you are new to following here. So 14 years ago in 2012, my baby was born. So my baby Kevin just turned 14. He's my youngest. My oldest, Charlie, she's 15, going to be 16. So currently I have a 14 and 15-year-old. And my baby turned 14 on February 6th. And he was my pregnancy that, although I was still preeclamptic, like my first, and did also result in an emergency C-section, I did get to take him home. He was full term. He did not have to be in the NICU. And so it was a completely different experience than what I had experienced my first pregnancy. My first pregnancy, my daughter was in the NICU for 3 weeks. She was intubated, and I did not have any skin to skin contact. I had just not a great experience. And even though I didn't have amazing pregnancies, to be able to just bring my son home was this completely new experience. And I was just feeling so good and feeling so hopeful. And we got home, and I sat on our bed upstairs, and we had this really tiny house, and you had to walk through, like, we had a 2-bedroom house. You had to walk through one bedroom to get to the other. And I remember sitting and the sun just shining in this window, and I can still picture it now in my mind's eye. And I just felt the presence of God, source, universe, whatever it was. And I felt the presence of just oneness. I felt so whole, and holding my son in my arms, my newborn baby, and just having this moment of total conscious presence looking back now, right? We don't really know sometimes what those moments are in that now. And it was short lived. An hour later, my blood pressure spiked, and I had to go back to the hospital. And my husband was left home with 2 kids under 2. And fast forward 8 months later, we were separated and signed our divorce papers about a year after that. And then I fully blame vaccines on my being mandated to have both the swine flu and flu vaccines same day, same time, bilateral deltoids. And because of that, my health was never the same. That was what really elicited my daughter being premature at birth, because I was pregnant when I got these 2 vaccines. So anyway, my health became really bad. So for 14 years, my mental health, my physical health, literally using a cane, mystery diagnoses, going to Mayo Clinic. My husband and I also did get back together. We signed our divorce papers, but they never went through. So we've been back together now for a little over 12 years. So it was like a year and a half we were not together, but he, so we've gone through all of this, and he went from working in corporate to leaving corporate. And just, we had we moved 5 times in 5 years in the last 14 years. And all those years up until 2019, or actually I'd say up until 2020, I was on so many medications for mental health. I had severe postpartum depression and anxiety, like panic attacks, horrific. I couldn't even go to the store. It was, it got really bad, and my drinking got really bad. And so for 14 years, I just went down these, like, 14 years of dark nights of the soul, I guess you could say, where my soul was waiting. My soul was sleepy, very, very sleepy, snoring away, astral traveling, while my ego was running around and just living in these old stories and self-blame and hate and guilt and lack and just shame, like that lowest of the low on the Hawkins scale, like I always talk about, right? Like shame being the lowest. And Neptune is the furthest planet from the sun, and it is known as being super dark, like a dark blue, but super dark and super ice cold. So when I was thinking about this just the other day, and just like the full circle of how Neptune now is coming into Aries, or it is in Aries now at this point that I'm recording, and we were driving. So Neptune went into Aries January 26th, I believe. And my birthday was January 30th. And then my son's birthday was February 6th. So just in that time that Neptune shifted into Aries, my husband and I were driving on the highway, and we were reminiscing about this moment. I was sharing this moment with him, which I've shared before. And I'm just like, I just always remember that moment. It was just so perfect. That first moment of just love. And like, even though everything fell apart, like, look where we are now. Like, we're finally in such a good place in our life, and we're both leveling up. We are leveling up together. Our relationship has never been more sound, and we've never been more like open in communication and just being on the same page. Sometimes we don't even have to talk, like we're just on the same vibe. We're not perfect, but like things have been going so well with our kids, and just we've been traveling, and it's almost like all those years we're finally where we prayed to be. And I don't say this out of ego. I'd never say this to brag, because I am somebody, like we worked so hard, and I am somebody who just wants to spread that love and that word that like if you are struggling and you have visions and dreams for yourself, do not lose fear, because Neptune now being in Aries, and I think I totally just went off on a tangent. So before I go back into that, the point is with my son, I said to my husband, I said these moments of just feeling present, and I remember the sun shining through the window and feeling just that warmth and that moment of oneness. And we were talking about how things have been going so like fluidly and just flowing and been great and abundant, and we have so much gratitude for it. And when I said something about the sunshine and the time of day, I said it was around like 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, like right before the sun was going to set. And he goes, and just that's like right now. And we were driving on the highway, and it was about like 4 o'clock, like late 3:40 something, and the sun was just shining in through the car, and we could both just feel the sunshine. And I looked at him, and it was like that full circle moment. Here we are 14 years later, that karmic cycle. I had to learn so much. I'm still learning. Our growth is never done. We are always works in progress. There are always things to be working on. And now with Neptune, so coming back to that, Neptune now in Aries, a fire sign, it's like this is that trailblazing energy. This is that energy that, go for those visions, go for those dreams. Neptune is the planet of dreams and visions. So do not be afraid to as we also simultaneously Chinese New Year coming about, do not be afraid to shed those final onion layers like the snake, and then hop up on that horse and just be that spiritual warrior and continue on forging, knowing who you are, knowing at your core essence, and everything else is just a story. Anything else that is bringing you down is a story that you have told yourself, and it is not your truth. And when you have those moments, if you have never experienced a spiritual awakening, if you have never experienced like true conscious presence, be open to it. Be open to receiving that, especially in with this energetic shift of the new year. And do not be afraid to expand your horizons. Do not be afraid. If you are feeling called, if you're even listening to this, odds are you've had a spiritual experience, you've had a spiritual awakening. But I have a lot of friends and family who listen who have not. And that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. The fact that you're listening means that you are self-aware and you are open to receiving, and that you are not blocked off. You are not blocking off your energy. And when I talk a lot about energy healing and we talk about being open to receiving, you want to make sure that your heart is open. You want to open that heart. And right now, Venus is in Aquarius, and that is all about love. And again, my sacred box, you can buy the sacred box, tapping into that sensuality and that self-love. So really doing things for yourself is so important. And especially now that segues into the wintertime blues if you are dealing with this. So self-care, self-love. I've shared a few times via social media and on podcasts how important it is to continue to keep moving, to get sunshine, to keep moving, to get yourself up and going. And nobody says the winter, shamanically, the winter time is home to slowing down, to being introspective, the wheel of the year, being not gung-ho and not in hustle mode, but being slowed down, getting things done, but getting things done in more, I'm getting right now intuitively, in a spirit-led way. So God, source, universe, waking up and allowing the winter time, to allowing the energy of each and every day to guide you. allowing God, source, universe, spirit, just letting them lead you each and every day from the heart, from heart center. One of the things that I always tell my clients, and I was just telling a client the other day, she was saying that her bones are hurting. And if you are somebody who suffers from osteoporosis, osteopenia, or anything of the sort, any bone disease, low vitamin D, anything, you still want to get outside even if it's cold. And I've talked about how I have friends in the Yukon Territory and in like the coldest parts of Canada. So I really have no excuse. We have been frigid here. We just finally got above freezing in New York, but still trying to get outside every single day, get that fresh air in your lungs and ground yourself. So that's what I was telling my client, was because she's going to Florida. So I said, do it at home too, but when you go to Florida, even more so, soak in that sunshine, open the heart, ground yourself twice a day. If you don't know about grounding, you can check out my YouTube, my free Ground Connect Protect. And it's a few years old. I should probably update it actually, but it gives an overall idea of how to ground yourself. And it literally is an exercise. It's like not even 15 minutes. I just quickly guide you through grounding in some other earth, connecting to Father Sky, to God, the angels, opening your heart, protecting your sacred space. And that's really, as far as like energy healing and protection, that's what you can do. So other things that I have been doing daily, I think I told you guys I started doing the Kaizen challenge, which I'm still doing, an ancient Japanese, well, not ancient, but a Japanese, I think it might be ancient actually, I have to look, I forget, about just improving. Your life can always improve. You can always be doing something to do better. And that can go on to another tangent of discussing nervous system regulation, of when we feel like we're not enough, when we feel like we can't sit still. With sometimes, as much as I've healed, I still can't sit still. I was telling my mentor this yesterday. I'm in a mastermind right now, and I was sharing about how I did a lot last week. I put I try to keep busy in the winter, to keep myself busy also. That's another thing, being creative. And so I put together 2 pieces of furniture, hosted my son's birthday. He had 2 birthday parties, and I completely pulled out my back. And so for the last 2 days, I really had to sit around and just rest and utilize all my healing tools and my physical therapy tools, my oils, my red light therapy. I was doing everything, my infrared mat, like stretching, anything and everything, you name it. And today I'm finally feeling back to par. So it's really about listening to your body. It's about, being honest with who you are, because the wintertime can really teach us about who we are. And a lot of people can't sit still with that. So wintertime is an opportune time to really get to know yourself. And to know thyself is to love thyself, is to heal thyself, as I always say. So if you are somebody who is feeling the winter blues, start out your day with small incremental changes, but doing something out of self-love and self-care for you. It is so important. We can get so caught up, and I was discussing this on the live yesterday, that we can get so caught up as humans in trying to save the world, especially as light workers, and we can leak so much energy and exert so much energy and give away so much of our energy to others for free, that we often forget to care for ourselves. And I think that that's why I'm so tapped into this current last few weeks, to Venus, and really working with Venus. And really, the oils that I made, the aphrodisia oil, really is for your highest good. It's for you to feel good, and also to remind us that Mother Earth provides so much of what we need, not from Big Pharma. So, for example, the Damiana plant that I use in the aphrodisia oil, it is used by our ancient ancestors to increase libido, sexual function, just like a pharmaceutical drug. So it's things like being creative. Wintertime really is a time I always find that I'm creative. You hear about writers, locking themselves away for the winter and hibernating and writing up a storm. And these are all creative, channeled ideas. I'd like to think of my winter. I feel like I'm coining my winter season this year as the alchemist. Like I almost feel like I've been living as an alchemist. I spend a lot of my time in meditation. I spend a lot of my time in creativity, but I also spend a lot of time kind of alone, which isn't a bad thing. Because I'm not feeling depressed. I'm still connected to the outside world. I'm still connected to my friends. I still am, seeing people and doing things that are in alignment with me. I do say no to things. I don't say yes to everything just because I want to get out of the house in the winter. But it's important to spend time with yourself, to not, like I said, just get to know yourself, but also to figure out what is your energy telling you? What is your body telling you? To slow down, to shut off the mind, to open the heart. What working with the wheel of the year, or working with Luna, and working astrologically, or working with ancient rituals or ancient New Year's, and really reflecting and doing things for you that make you feel like you're important, that make you feel like you're worthy, that make you feel like, hell yeah, I need to keep going. Hell yeah, tomorrow's going to be an exciting day. What am I going to do tomorrow? I will be totally and completely 100% honest with you all. If there's one thing I'm upset with this winter season, it's how much I want to sleep. I told my husband that I could literally hibernate. I feel like I could sleep every single day until spring, like all day. Don't come and bother me until springtime. So like Persephone can come wake me up, right? Like I don't want to be bothered. I literally keep thinking of Pooh Bear. I keep thinking of ancient ancestors and ancient times, even like the Ice Age, like everyone just hibernating and just hunkering down, eating, if you can, eating hearty foods and nutritious, healthy foods. This is a time where a lot of people in the winter time remain indoors, more sedentary, and you just want to be cautious that if you are eating fast food, you're eating processed food, how is your mentality? Is that affecting your mentality? Because 80 to 90% of serotonin is formed within our gut. So are you hindering that? Or is the food that you're eating hindering your emotional and mental health and well-being, as well as your physical? So, it's figuring out what keeps you going, what keeps you moving, what keeps you motivated, but also keeps you like listening to your body. And if you need some extra sleep, get some extra sleep, get some extra rest if you can. If you can't, take micro moments to really tap into your body and do some deep breathing exercise and meditation, because meditation can really calm your nervous system. And if you are sleep deprived, it can help to regulate that feeling of like you haven't had enough sleep, and perhaps bring you into a state of homeostasis throughout the day, those little micro moments. I would recommend, if you are somebody who you're saying you don't have time for this. So that's another thing. Like if you don't have time to take 3 deep breaths, then you got to dig deeper. If you don't have time to take 5 minutes out of your day, but you're scrolling on your phone for a lot longer than that, then you really need to evaluate that. That's your choice, right? So this is where we come to that divide where the Chinese New Year is coming, and you can, are you going to choose to forge forward, or are you going to choose to remain in not regression, but just remain stagnant and keep that heavy energy still within and without? Or do you want to shed and you want to let go, and you're not going to take that new energy with you? So what do you feel what do you see for yourself? What is that vision that if you could like completely just separate two versions of yourself for a moment, right? Like close your eyes for a moment, or just visualize if you can. The ideal self that you envision. What is her routine like? What does she look like? What does she dress like? Or he too. You could, or they, you could be listening, whoever's listening. So, what is this version of you act like? What does this version of you do each day? How does this version of you interact? How does this version of you dress, walk, talk? How does this version of you carry themselves? How does this version of you show up? How does this version of you feel into that energy? odds are you're going to feel really fucking good, and you're going to feel like you're in flow and you're on top of the world and you are superhuman, because guess what you are? You are superhuman. That Christ consciousness, superhuman. You are multidimensional. You are capable of doing so many things that you see for yourself. So separating that, you have that version, and then you have the version that, you know, is stuck in the same loopholes, the same patterns, the same energies that are kind of that self-sabotaging victim martyr energy, right? So that's the energy that we want to get rid of, especially right now, this week, the last few days. So it's currently February 11th. So by February 17th, you want, like, I'm ready to let go of a few things, and I've written it down, I've talked about it, I am ready. So what are you ready for? And I would love to hear it in the comments, or you can message me. I hope that this helps. But yeah, really, for the wintertime season, if you are inside also and you are able to acquire, you can get the UV lights to be in your home. I just personally, I try to sit where there's sunlight. So this is why I'm podcasting from my living room, my dining room, not from my typical basement studio space, because it just feels very dark down there. So even if I put on all the lights, I'm near my open windows and I'm near the sunlight coming in. So doing things in self-awareness that they are helping you to self-heal and ascend, not hindering that growth. And we are always growing. We are always learning. So do not ever get mad at yourself. It's not worth it. There's no right, there's no wrong. Do not ever sit in that energy of, you know, we can find ourselves in the energy very quickly of that, be it having guilt or shame or lack or greed or ego. How quickly can you bounce out of that? And that's really like I feel like a true test, especially in the winter time. And this has been a practice for me. Like, my last few winters have not been amazing mentally, but this winter, why? I'm prioritizing my self-care. I wake up, I light Nag Champa every day. I do my meditation. I do my self Reiki. I do my movement, my sun salutation. I'm in a mastermind. So there's always like something to celebrate, you know, always focusing on that positive, or there's something to an audio tape to listen to for a meditation. There's always finding something that works for you, reading good books. I have a sign in my house somewhere that says, reading takes you places when you have nowhere else to go. And I think that it's so true. And I think especially if you're in the spiritual world, if you're somebody who is so gung-ho on like that self-improvement, spirituality, and helping the universe, every once in a while, it's nice to put down the nonfiction and pick up a fiction book or a smutty little piece of work and just read and let your imagination expand. Imagination is more important than knowledge, per Albert Einstein. So I think that that's probably enough for today. I think I touched on both the astrology that I wanted to touch on, as well as the upcoming Chinese New Year of the fire horse. So, and I think it's just so perfect with Neptune being in Aries and Aries being that fire sign. So what are you claiming in this now? What are you claiming for yourself? What are you no longer taking with you as of February 17th? And what are you stepping into, that version of you, and start making the moves. You don't have to do it all at once, but start making those small incremental changes to get there, and you shall soon see all you are meant to be. Thank you guys always as listening and tuning in. Peace out and God bless.